what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Footcandle Films. Film news and reviews from two guys who really like movies.
This episode is brought to you by the Footcandle Film Society. For a schedule of upcoming screenings and membership information, visit the Society's website at www.footcandle.org.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Footcandle Films here on themesh.tv. Chris, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's Friday the 13th.
That's right. It is.
Our episode-long discussion of that franchise. That'll be awesome.
Yes, we started a marathon this morning, so we are the true film addicts. So we got to stick to the theme. If the date says this is the film series we've got to watch, that's what we've got to watch. So,
Actually, Alan, you know what? Because this is a podcast, we are recording it on the 13th, but I guess it really won't make a lot of sense because we'll probably post it in a couple of days. So the 13th will already be passed.
No, you're right.
So why don't we just talk about something else?
So we don't have to watch those movies right now?
Nah.
Okay. I'll just save it for watching with the kids this weekend.
That's cool. Yeah, they'll like that.
I love it.
Fun.
It'll be fun.
Sure.
No, actually, Friday the 13th recording, but yes, depending on when you're listening to the show, of course, it's a different date for you. So we're going to do something a little different. We are really, really close to the Oscar ceremony, February 22nd coming up. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, maybe you're catching us right before the actual ceremony, or maybe you're going to listen to it after the ceremony, and then you can joke about how wrong we are with our predictions. So either way, we'll get to Oscar talk in a moment, but first we are going to do a review of the film The Theory of Everything, which does weave into the Oscar talk because it is nominated for quite a number of awards as well.
True.
So we'll do that review. We'll come back and have our Oscar talk and some of our maybe predictions and picks. And then we'll end the show with our recommendation of a film that we think you ought to check out if you have a time. So again, this is Footcandle Films here on themesh.tv. You can learn more about what we're doing here on the Mesh at themesh.tv. And you can also learn more about our film society. This is kind of the nucleus of this at footcandle.org, where you can find out all the film screenings we've been hosting, information about our upcoming film festival, which we may talk about a little bit more in a moment, and a lot of other exciting things going on. So a lot of fun stuff. Let's jump though right into our main review for this episode, which is The Theory of Everything.
It's called motor neuron disease. Life expectancy is 2 years.
So, this black hole at the beginning of time. Brilliant. Brilliant, Stephen.
It has been a great joy to watch this man defy every expectation, both scientific and personal.
There should be no boundaries to human endeavor. However bad life may seem, while there is life, there is hope.
Chris, we have The Theory of Everything, the story of Stephen Hawking, a famous physicist, and his wife, which I think is, even though we know the public figure Stephen Hawking fairly well, people know who he is and his accomplishments. Very little known about his wife or ex-wife, Jane Hawking. So this is a story really about the two of them. We've got Stephen Hawking played by Eddie Redmayne, and we've got Jane Hawking played by Felicity Jones. This is a film directed by James Marsh, which I thought was really interesting because we have actually had discussions about two of his previous films on this show.
Right.
One of them being Project Nim, which I think was maybe 3-4 years ago.
Right.
We screened it at Footcandle. It was a documentary. But more importantly, Man on Wire a few years before that, which we're both big fans of. I know you really liked that documentary. I did too. I thought it was one of my favorite films of that year, actually. So here he's doing something with actors, even though he is still staying in the realm of realism with an actual biographical film about a true life subject. Mm-hmm. So The Theory of Everything is nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Music, Best Adapted Screenplay, I believe. A lot of accolades getting thrown around. It is, in the strictest sense, a biopic covering a span of years, focusing a little bit more on the romance and the affair of the husband-wife, maybe more so than the science and the philosophies and some of the work he did beyond that in the science world. So let me just toss it over to you. It is Valentine's Day weekend. We did screen this just last night.
Correct.
Kind of makes sense that, we showed something that has a little bit more of a love story angle to it. Was the love story between Stephen Hawking and Jane Hawking in this film, which comprised the majority of the film, was that enough to make this a film that you enjoyed, respected, or did you need more?
This is a strange biopic for me.
Okay.
I was it was confusing for me, and not in the way that I thought it would be. We've talked in the past about biopics that take a certain aspect of someone's life, and you and I both kind of genuinely agree that those are more effective than trying to do somebody's entire life, because it's kind of hard to do that. And I mean, it can be done, but it's kind of hard to do. It
becomes more of like a greatest hits thing where let's just hit the highlights and stitch them all together for a whole person's life.
Right. And, you can, and, it's just in general with something like where you take just an aspect like this year's Selma, it doesn't take Martin Luther King's entire life. It just takes one little segment. So, so this movie has more of the broader approach.
It does. It goes from him in college or working on his PhD
and meeting his wife
through pretty much fairly late in life. I mean, I'd say, what would seem to be maybe his 50s or so.
Yeah. So
maybe to the 70s or 80s that we got him to. Yeah.
Right. And so a pretty broad range of time, which is a big deal in the movie. But what kind of, I guess, confused me or distracted me, people who know anything about Stephen Hawking, and you mentioned in the intro, he and his wife are no longer married. They got
it's not really a spoiler.
No,
that's that's the way it is right now.
And knowing that going into this film, I was thinking it would be more like a typical Hollywood movie where, obviously they're showing Mr. Hawking before he had a muscular disease. I cannot remember
I'm really
the technical term for his condition that he has.
Right.
But it shows him before that starts affecting him, and then it shows the progression of the disease, and then it goes after. But what I expected, kind of the focus on that, and the focus on his science and his discoveries, and I expected typically Hollywood they would kind of gloss over the fact that the marriage kind of didn't end up working and kind of fell apart. But they didn't. They addressed that kind of head on.
Right.
And that was interesting, and I thought not typical for maybe a Hollywood documentary or something. And they were sympathetic to both sides, and that part to me was interesting, but it really confused me because it distracted me from what I thought I was going to get from the film, which was kind of more of an understanding of Stephen Hawking.
Right.
And maybe some of what he discovered or what he did.
Yeah.
And instead, it's much more, like you're saying, it's much more kind of a romantic movie than it is a biography almost. You could almost take anybody who, you could strip away the fact that he was Stephen Hawking, make him man scientist, falls in love with pretty girl. They get married. He has these, terrible difficulties because of medical conditions, but they make through it. They still each other, but then they fall out of love. And then it's like, okay, but then in the end, everything's okay.
Right.
And that would be this typical Hollywood romance. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But not a biopic. And so that's where I kind of, I was confused. On one hand, I was pleased that they didn't try to gloss it over and make like it wasn't a big deal. But then I felt like I wasn't getting any biography. And this is played up as obviously, Stephen Hawking.
Right.
It's,
I hear where you're going.
So I was just kind of, if anything, if somebody would have asked, going into this movie, it's about this guy who has all these big theories, and I was like, yeah, well, I hope I can somehow, be educated but not be totally confused by what he's talking about. Yeah. And instead, I felt like oversimplified and glossed
terribly oversimplified.
So that all you were paying attention to was the romance.
But in the end, the romance it's being built as a romance story about the two of them,
but it's kind
and
of
the love for each other. But it's actually not a love story.
No,
it's a support, devotion story about two people who, Jane cared tremendously for Stephen Hawking, but at the end of the day, I think she had stronger emotions elsewhere,
right?
And I think she felt like more of she needed to be there to help Stephen until Stephen had somebody else that could help him,
right?
Which is kind of an interesting way to look at a dynamic.
It is.
I'll be quite honest. I didn't care for the film terribly.
Okay.
Not that I didn't hate it. It's just I had a little bit of the same misgivings you're describing where I wanted more of the science, and there was really none. I mean, it was so overly glossed over that could have been even taken out of the whole equation and not even mentioned, and I don't think the film would have been much different.
Or kind of like the struggles that he had, because you're assuming this stuff's complicated.
Yeah.
Even if they don't explain why it's complicated, show him struggling with it. And in other words, it's just like, oh, I have this idea and I'm a genius.
Right.
Oh, I have this idea and I'm a genius. It doesn't destroy
Exactly.
him.
There's nothing
And it's
him
clear
working towards anything.
because it shows a little bit. The one time he goes in front of a board for like his defense, I guess, of his doctorate, like something he'd been working on. And they say, okay, just like with anything, it's kind of intimidating. They say, okay, you got this wrong. You did this
But it was
wrong.
so cliche.
But then at the end, they're like, oh, but you're a genius and congratulations.
But this last point was awesome. So you're a genius. No, it was. I think that's probably my biggest issue with the film is it was so cliche in so many places where it didn't have to be. It was spoon feeding us a lot of the scenes and a lot of the things. It didn't need to do that. It could have really just played it straight and showed us him struggling with trying to develop these theories and trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, he's trying to understand the mechanisms of the universe,
right?
But I never see him thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
Or something even more daring, which they kind of shy away from. Having someone challenge him. Because, obviously you're putting forth
You had
these
one
things.
little scene where, remember, he's pitching it in front of a certain board, and the one guy gets up and is like, this is crazy, ridiculous, and walks out. And that's it. That was like the only conflict that happened.
Right.
Where I thought there was going to be some conflict is the scene you just mentioned, which really is just an eye roller for me. He goes in to basically find out where he stood with his PhD dissertation, and he's got the review board, and they're very intimidating. And yeah, it was just so played, so cliche, where let's point out everything wrong, and let's make everybody think that, he's not going to get his PhD. And then at the very last point, but this last point, you were brilliant. So congratulations, you got it. It's just, I know that's not the way it happened. I know that is all a Hollywood gloss over to just make it more dramatic and make it fun. That's the kind of thing this film did way too much of that, I felt like, when it didn't need to. You're dealing with one of the most intelligent minds of our time, but the movie itself was so dumbed down, which is a shame. It really kind of bothered me from that standpoint. I don't mind it being more about the relationship. Actually, I think that's fascinating. I think the relationship they had was very, very interesting.
It was.
Not
a typical relationship, and very kind of an honest portrayal of, I think you nailed it on the head, where you say they cared for each other, but, there was
I think they both realized
support,
right.
But it was like they were in love with other people.
Yes, they both realized that they were meant to be elsewhere,
right.
But they had been dependent on each other for so long
right.
that it was heartbreaking when they did decide to split ways for the reasons they did, but it was a mutual understanding. It wasn't like one person was being a jerk or being wrong. I mean, they both just had their interesting ways of going in different directions. So I really admired that. I will say, Felicity Jones, I thought was great in this film. I really liked her performance, and it probably because she didn't have the showy performance. She had the straight performance for the most part, and she pulled it off extremely well. A lot of people don't give credit to those kind of performances when you've got the co-star you're acting with has got the very big, pronounced, showy performance. Hers is not. She had to keep it together, and I thought she just was a lot of fun to watch all throughout the film, so I really liked her a lot.
Okay, and I guess what I can read into your comment is you didn't really care for Mr. Redmayne that much.
Well, I do want to talk about that because, of course, this is a film that's what everybody talks about.
Sure.
Is his performance.
He's nominated for Best Actor.
He's had some roles, nothing too dramatic. I mean, he's done Les Mis. He had a supporting role in Les Mis. He was in the film My Week with Marilyn a couple of years ago.
Right.
Beyond that, not a whole lot. He's in that new Jupiter Ascending, I hear, which I kind of want to see now, but it sounds so horrible. It sounds horrible.
It's horrible, and you hear he's ridiculous.
I want to see it now. His performance, I am sure it is Stephen Hawking up and down. I just have a whole hard problem with over-recognizing actors for basically mimicking somebody.
Well,
that's my issue with the performance. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad performance. It's just, I just don't feel the need to give it all the acclaim that everybody else does. Even though physically, it was a very challenging role to the physicality of it.
Right.
But I still feel like it's a mimic job.
Well, and I think I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it. I think I'm maybe not as critical on it. I think overall, in general, I may like the movie a little more than you, but not much more.
Okay.
Redmayne's performance, from the time I saw the trailers, because I did see, this movie's been out for a while, and I'd seen trailers for it. The moment I saw him playing Stephen Hawking, I was like, oh my goodness, that totally looks like him.
Yeah.
It's like, it was amazing. And as he progresses in the movie and he becomes more disabled, it even gets more so. Like it looks like the Stephen Hawking that you've seen, his picture on book jackets and everything. And and them having to walk with the canes and use a lot of, very demanding. I thought it was a good performance by Redmayne, but I will say that I think where I don't think he did as good of a job, and they didn't give him a lot to work with, so maybe it's screenplay.
Yeah, I think there's probably more of the issue there.
Early, he eventually, it's not a spoiler, he loses the ability to speak, okay? But before he loses his ability to speak, the stuff that was revealed through how he did talk, I thought they didn't give him enough to say. You didn't learn enough about him before he wasn't able to speak, or before he had a lot of trouble and his speech was slurred because of what was happening, And I felt like that's where he could have really shown his, more nuanced personality of Stephen Hawking. And instead, they didn't let him do that, or he didn't do that. And so
I agree with you. I do think probably more of the fault is in the screenplay than in his performance per se. I wanted more from Stephen Hawking in this film. And I felt like we got a much more cursory view of him.
Sure.
I compare this to a film like the Imitation Game.
Okay.
Benedict Cumberbatch. There's actually a lot of similarities.
Sure.
For both being released about the same time, both playing a character having to play a very kind of, I don't want to say socially awkward, but it's just a little more unique character in history. Yeah. Highly intelligent. At least with Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as Alan Turing, I felt his drive to do something. I felt his need to figure something out. I felt his desperation when something was not working out the way he wanted it to. With this film Theory of Everything, it's like you said, it's basically, go answer this quiz that I give you for homework, and okay, I did it. And now I've come up with a theory, and now I'm famous, and now I just got my PhD. There were no stakes. There was no conflict. There was no drive. There was no emotion behind doing that. Now, the emotion was all put towards the disease, which I get. Obviously, that was a huge aspect of the life. Right. But it caused us to look at it more as a sympathy case than as how great a genius this guy was and what got him to that point. Mm-hmm. You see? So I felt like it was half a performance, and I wanted to see both sides of the coin, and I didn't get it. I can't blame the actor for it. I think he did an amazing job of being Stephen Hawking. I just wish there was more depth to getting to know him. Because I even felt like even in the first half of the film when he was able to talk, I still felt like we were just dancing on the surface of who he was.
I agree. And that's what was frustrating to me.
I learned more about his wife through the film.
Sure.
Her personality, the things that troubled her and drove her, and the things that were going on in her mind. I got a lot more of that from her than I did from him. And now, granted, the movie's based on her autobiography, so maybe there's more of that slant to it, and I get that. But I don't know. It could have been so much more.
Yeah.
Now, what about from the filmmaking standpoint? I mean, we talked about screenplay, we talked about some acting, just filmmaking style. James Marsh, who we like both, we liked his documentaries in the past. Anything remarkable or interesting about the style?
Cinematography was good. I thought his directing, it was okay. Nothing really stood out to me. Mm-hmm. So, I guess but they're both, he has done some fiction films before, but none that I'm really familiar with.
Yeah, they're kind of more scattered, smaller ones I hadn't heard of.
And I think, I guess I can appreciate his documentaries and stuff better. I almost wish that he'd done a documentary of this instead of a film.
That's always our question with these biopics is, would it have been better as a documentary than a dramatic film?
Specifically with someone who's produced or directed two different documentaries that both got a lot of attention, and both of us, Man on Wire and Project Nim that you mentioned, I can't help but think like, wow, this would have been, to have a documentary about Stephen Hawking and have interviews with people that knew him. And
see, I kind of disagree on that.
Oh, yeah?
I think this is the film where
you wouldn't have gotten the emotion and the whole romance.
I think you've got to have the emotion both on the romance and on the anguish of dealing with the disease. I don't think would have conveyed as well in a documentary, because I think seeing the struggle is what people can connect to. My whole challenge is just that I just don't think we got enough. Sure. I think a dramatic film like this is good, but you got to have something deeper. You got to show us, if we're supposed to be, we're sympathetic and we're compassionate on the disease, rightfully so. But the whole fascination of Stephen Hawking is that he's facing this while also being one of the most thought-provoking genius minds in our world, in our time.
Right.
And that I felt like was like an afterthought for the film.
Sure.
And that was a real disappointment for me.
Sure.
So I didn't care for the film, although I will respect certain aspects to it. I will say Felicity Jones I thought was great. Eddie Redmayne did what he was supposed to do and did an impressive job with it. I just always have a hard time giving the highest accolades to your job is to mimic basically somebody.
Well, and I think in a sense, caring more about that, caring more about being accurate to the mimic aspect as opposed to communicating any information or telling a good story if it's a fiction movie, or in this sense, communicating information and facts about Hawking. He was so bent on being physically correct and technically accurate instead of being emotionally accurate. Or
in another aspect of the film, I thought, again, back to this whole idea of we never got, I felt like a great sense of who he really is, his family. I felt like his family dynamics of his mother and father were so glossed over, and I never got the sense of, were we supposed to expect that his mother and father were supportive of him? Were they somewhat critical of him as a child? Was it a loving household? Was it a more distant household? You never got quite a mix. There was like one scene in the early on where he takes Jane to go and meet them for dinner. Right. And it was an awkward scene because I didn't quite understand what we were supposed to get from this family dynamic. Right. And then later on, the mother, father show up again later on after he's already disabled. And you get the sense that they're maybe more aloof to it. Maybe they're not as concerned about him. I don't know what we were supposed to get from that family dynamic. And that's another thing where I wish I knew that, because that would have helped me understand what shaped Stephen Hawking as a person. But it was really weird. It was very glossed over and hard to peg down what was coming out of that.
Yeah, and similarly, Jane's mother coming and talking to her and getting her to go be in the choir. And like that, it's just very kind of, I know, yeah, both families on both sides, you just don't, so much was glossed over that it just felt like everything was out of focus except Stephen Hawking and Jane.
Yeah.
Everything else was so out of focus.
And with them, the only thing that was really in focus was dealing with this disease.
Well, I'm a caregiver.
And the hardships.
And I'm the person who needs the caregiving.
That was the only element of the story that was clear. I agree. I completely agree. I
will say, too, and this is maybe why it sounds weird for me to say this, but I guess because it flipped my expectations or so messed with my expectations is why I maybe like it a little more, because it kind of surprised me. I did not like the feelings of uncomfortableness that I got when they started drifting away from each other. And the way that it was handled very well, but the way Jane begins to have feelings for someone else and the way he begins to have... it made me squirm, actually, in my seat. It made me very uncomfortable. Not because it was handled poorly, but just because I guess it was so sad, or maybe it was just, I don't know. I have to say that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
The way I felt uncomfortable about it.
Well, that's the theory of everything. It's we had a chance to screen it last night. I think good crowd reaction. We're very packed house on both nights we screened the film. It is nominated for several nominations or several awards on the Oscars. I'm going to go out and say I don't see how this will win Best Picture.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's anywhere in the front running, even just what you hear out in the film community. I do think there's a chance for Eddie Redmayne to win Best Actor, although I personally don't feel like that's warranted. But right. I do feel like there's enough energy behind that. I'd be curious. And again, we'll get into our Oscar conversation here after the break. But would I be happy to see Felicity Jones win Best Actress? It'd be a nice surprise. I don't think it's possible, but I think it could pull it off. I think it was a really strong performance. So that's the theory of everything. I know it's already available on iTunes for purchase as of the time of writing this, so people can check it out pretty easily now. Should be available for rent within a couple of weeks as well. So what we're going to do is take a quick break. When we come back, we'll do some Oscar talk and then end up with our recommendations for the show. Stay tuned. This is Footcandle Films here on themesh.tv.
We'll get back to your show in a moment. Just a reminder, you're listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Find out more at themesh.tv and give us feedback on what you like. And now, as promised, back to your show.
Welcome back to Footcandle Films here on the Mesh.tv. I'm Alan. This is Chris. Across from me, we just finished our review of The Theory of Everything. So that's a good segue right into our discussion about the Oscars, since The Theory of Everything pops up quite a few times on the list. Chris, you and I have a tradition on the show where we go through the nominations, we go through the categories, we discuss them, and you and I both have our who we think's going to win, kind of our prediction. But we might also have our personal preference. A lot of times you and I have a personal preference that we pretty much know is not going to win the award, yes. But we still like to throw it out there.
Right.
And sometimes there's names that are not showing up on these nomination lists that we think are a crime that should have been.
We'll get to that.
Oh, I know there's a couple. I can think of one automatically that I know you're probably very, very bothered by.
Yes.
So let's do this. Let's kind of go through the categories. Kind of to throw it out ear, let's not do Best Picture yet. Let's wave that to the end.
Yeah, we can build. We can
build up. This is called building up in, what do we call it? Building up anxiousness.
Suspense?
Suspense. That's the word I was looking for, yes. So let's start with director.
Okay.
How about that? Best director, and I'll read these first ones out.
Okay.
We have five nominees here. We've got Wes Anderson for The Grand Budapest Hotel, Alexandro Inarritu for Birdman, Richard Linklater for Boyhood, Bennett Miller for Foxcatcher, and Morton Tildum for The Imitation Game. With this, Chris, who will win Best Director? Not who do you want to, but who will win?
Man, hard category. I think, and there again, a lot of people take in things like the Golden Globes and other awards, and they kind of, you kind of take the average of who's won all those awards, and you say, okay, likelihood is, as long as they're still buzzed, this person's going to win the Oscar for Best Director. I think Richard Linklater's probably going to win for Best Director. And
is he the one you would want to win?
Yes. I think I'm going to say yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, you and I were both lukewarm on Boyhood. I think you maybe liked it a little bit more than I did, but neither of us loved it.
Right.
I was actually quite disappointed by it.
But I so admire the idea, and I thought he carried it off. Notice I'm not saying Best Original Screenplay or Best...
All right, but here's the question. Let me ask this. This is the question I thought about with this directing category has got me... I really had to think between this and Best Picture a lot.
Okay.
I'm curious if, because the concept of the film was what was so great about Boyhood, to me, I wonder, is that more of a total production concept, meaning everybody involved, cast, producers, director, making this concept happen, versus the director who's on the set calling the shots? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean...
Because I think directing-wise, I don't think there was anything fascinating about the directing at all.
But it was his vision to call it all together and to make it work. Yeah, I mean, I know... Yeah,
but to me, I see that as more of a producer's role in a way, too.
Yeah, but I guess because they don't have, like, best production.
Well, typically Best Picture kind of falls up to it looks at it from a whole production standpoint. So I'm just arguing with you for the sake of arguing. But you're going with the Linklater for Boyhood. You think we'll win.
I can't really explain why until we get
that's fine, no problem.
to the Best Picture. But it funnels into that. Basically, well, it's not spoiling anything, I guess, because we're going to say. Basically, I don't think it deserves Best Picture, and I think Boyhood will get something because it was such an achievement in the fact that it was made.
Okay.
Now, that being said, I don't see any other thing like it's nominated for acting, supporting acting. No, it's not going to. It's like I think this film. I feel like the Academy is not going to let this film walk away empty-handed.
Okay,
and
I agree with you on that.
I feel like Best Picture is a movie a lot of people have seen. B, has made a lot of money, and C has like broad appeal. I feel like. So I don't think. Of course, I don't know what I'm going to choose for Best Picture yet.
Well, there's only one film you're describing actually on the Best Picture list right now.
So I don't. For that reason, I that's why I settled on director. I'm not really able to describe or explain why.
I'll just say I'm picking, and I would like to see win Inarritu for Birdman. Okay, because I think from a technical, again, I look at directing as the technical art of putting the pieces together on screen.
Yeah.
And I do think Birdman was the most technical proficient accomplishment. Now, secondly, I would give it to Wes Anderson for Grand Budapest Hotel, because I thought that film, I watched it again just the other day, just for kicks. That is a very complex film, very intricate, very finitely directed. And I think that's a huge accomplishment to get that film made to look the way it does.
Well,
so those two I'm the most impressed with.
See, I think you could actually have Birdman and R2, Linklater, and Anderson actually kind of cancel each other out.
It's very possible.
And then you have left with Foxcatcher or Bennett Miller and Morton Tildum, and then it automatically goes to Morton Tildum for Imitation Game.
Oh, how crazy would that be?
I could see that happen.
How crazy would that be?
I could see that happen.
Because The Imitation Game, I liked the movie, but there was nothing about it from a directing standpoint that I thought was impressive.
No, me neither.
It was a story and acting. That was what got me for it.
But if you're going to talk complexity and rewarding complexity, I am not going to disagree at all that Birdman was hard to carry off. And obviously, Wes Anderson, he's known for like intricate, ridiculous movies.
Oh, how great would it be to Wes Anderson to win an Oscar for Best Director? It'd be fun.
I think that would be cool. There again, I tend to think that's not going to happen just because the mere number of people that have seen it, and because this movie is not. I tend to think also Best Pictures and Best Directors are given to, air quotes here, you cannot see them, important films. Birdman is not important.
Well, Birdman's not, but it talks about Hollywood. And Oscars do like movies about Hollywood.
That's true.
All right. So, okay, we could probably talk the director one. That's probably my favorite category. I love the director category.
It is. We could talk that to death.
We could talk about it to death. Let's move on to some other ones here.
I say Linklater, you're going with an R2.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Okay. Why don't you just pick another category for us, Chris? It doesn't matter where you want to go on this.
Well, let's see. Let's do one that I obviously have something to say about. We're going to go talk about Best Animated Feature.
Yes.
So,
obviously, of all the nominees, the Lego Movie would be the best one there. So we just go ahead and choose the Lego Movie.
Pick, and that's the one that will win. Unfortunately, it's not nominated.
How insane is that?
Yeah, I have no earthly idea.
What do you think's the rationale there?
Let me read out the nominees, and then I'll talk. Okay, so the nominees we do have: Big Hero 6, The Box Trolls, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Song of the Sea, and The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, those first three we've all heard of. So do they deserve to be nominated? Absolutely.
Maybe.
Maybe. The last two, Song of the Sea, Tale of Princess Kaguya, I have heard of them, but I haven't seen either one of them. But I'm just surprised that over a movie that so many people like, yes, you've heard my love about it, so you know that I like it, but I think a lot of you listeners probably do too, and if not, a lot of the general American populace likes
incredibly highly rated. It was like one of the top 5 grossing films of the year.
Yeah,
I mean, it had everything going for it.
I am just in shock that out of 5 nominees, it doesn't make it in there at all. Instead, you have 2 titles that I feel like very few people have seen: Song of the Sea and Tale of Princess Kaguya. Not that I'm all for the indie man getting in there and stuff,
especially if it's a well animated feature. You want it to be nominated. But I'll go ahead and say for the record, I thought Big Hero 6 was a good fun movie.
Sure.
I thought How to Train Your Dragon 2 was a good fun movie. Visually, How to Train Your Dragon 2 was stunning. It was a beautiful movie to watch. Big Hero 6 didn't have the visual appeal as much for me.
No.
But story-wise, I like the story and characters and Big Hero 6 a lot better. So neither of those are ones that I see as being best animated feature. I mean, because they don't have that complete package that a good Pixar movie or something else would. I'm curious if with the Lego Movie, if it has something to do with the fact that
it was released so early,
and the fact that there is a portion towards the end, not to spoil anything, but that is not animated. Is there some stipulation that if it's I don't know, certain percentage not animated, that all of a sudden it's not eligible for animated feature?
I'm going to say no. And the only reason I say that is because I think if that was the case, that would have immediately been put out there by the Academy. Because I'm not the only person bothered by this. You're not the only person that's noticed it. There was a lot of talk when these things came out all over Twitter. It's like, what? Where's the Lego? So
right. That's true.
I don't think that's the case. I haven't seen Train Your Dragon 2, but I have seen Box Trolls and I have seen Big Hero 6, and I'm on the same page with Big Hero 6. It's like, it's good, but it's not visually stunning. It doesn't have the whole package.
Right. It's a great story, great characters, but visually it looks like another Disney animated 3D or CGI movie.
And Box Trolls for me fell really flat.
Really?
Visually, creatively, that's where it all was. But as far as story, there was nothing really there. So that's why I'm just,
So what's your pick? Who do you think's gonna win?
I think it'll probably be Big Hero 6.
That's who I would like to see win. I actually think it's going to be How to Train Your Dragon 2,
Really?
only because
So I need to catch up with that.
I do think it's a good movie, and visually it's really impressive. I will give it that. I think the animation on that movie is really, really impressive. So if they're focusing more on the visual artistry of the animation, I think the Dragon movie will get it.
Okay.
So I would like to see Big Hero 6 win, just because I did enjoy that movie. I think it's a good film. So.
Okay.
All right, let me jump to original screenplay. We've got Birdman, Boyhood, Foxcatcher, Grand Budapest Hotel, and Nightcrawler. So of these, Chris, what do we think? I'll go ahead and say I think as far as where I would like to see it go, I'd love to see it go to the Grand Budapest Hotel. Because again, I think that was a very complex, intricate story that just had a lot going on, some interesting characters, a lot of fun. But it won't win. Okay, so which one will win? I don't think it will be Boyhood, just because I don't think Boyhood really the screenplay is not the issue for Boyhood.
I think the only prediction I'm going to get right of the entire Oscars is that Boyhood's going to win something.
Okay.
And I honestly think I will predict, it's going to win one thing. So that's what's hard. I think I can go out on a limb and say it's not going to be supporting actress or supporting actor. I think it's a real toss-up for me between screenplay. Because of the thing you said about directing, it makes me think, well, maybe they'd give it more towards screenplay, because maybe they'll say that's kind of the ideas, and it was amazing that he thought he could carry it off. But the actual dialogue, they say, is not that interesting, and the situations aren't that interesting that he goes through. So it was more of like a documentary. So maybe instead of giving him Best Director, they would give him Best Screenplay. But I don't.
I will be so disappointed if Boyhood wins Screenplay, because I just don't think of all the things that Boyhood got right, Screenplay is
not one of
the
them.
least of them.
Okay.
I think this is actually going to be interesting for me, because I think it's going to be Birdman. Although I personally would love to see Grand Budapest Hotel, but I think Birdman will get it because I think the crackling dialogue in the film, the characters that are sketched out, the concept behind it from a screenplay standpoint, I think that's what will carry it.
I'm kind of with you on Birdman. I think so, because I think the buzz is around Birdman too.
The last month or so, it's been Birdman.
But who knows? After we record this weekend, something big could happen and the buzz will all change. But I feel like the way the tides are moving and the momentum's going, I feel like Birdman's probably a screenplay. I think that's why, and I don't have a problem with it winning that, even though an R2 is credited with it. But other people are there as well, so they'll get rewarded as well.
Do you want to hit adapted screenplay?
Sure. Adapted screenplay. Let's see. Let me get my alphabetical list here. We have American Sniper, Imitation Game, Inherent Vice, Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. Let's see. Man, that's hard. And I'm surprised Whiplash. I guess, is it based on a book? Is that where that came from?
Or a short story or something.
Or a short story,
so,
okay.
And the Theory of Everything we talked about in our review, based on the biography of Jane Hawking.
I really feel, not having even seen the movie, but I have heard reviews and heard people talk about it, I want Inherent Vice to win, just because I know a little bit about the book that it's based on, the Pynchon novel, and it's like supposed to be really dense and kind of, and the movie is kind of all over the place and kind of crazy. But I admire just for it having been done, and you could try to make a movie out of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm almost thinking like Inherent Vice was an unfilmable movie, because there's just, how could you make a movie out of it, because it's so all over the place. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's going to win, because I don't think enough people have seen it, including me. So, wow.
I think American Sniper is going to win. Only because of all the aspects of that film. That film has been the one that's picked up the most energy in the last couple months.
It has also gotten a lot of buzz, yeah.
I don't think it's going to win any of the major awards, but I do think I could see it squeezing an adapted screenplay, only because based on a real-life character with a very unique and tragic story, and adapted into a film. I think his story is what's brought everybody into the multiplexes to check this movie out. I could see that being the one that's kind of a, yes, we acknowledge that you became a blockbuster and Clint Eastwood directed and all that. We're not going to give you any major awards, but adapted screenplay is one that makes sense.
It's so hard, too, because this year we always have at least one biopic, but I don't remember a year where we've had 3.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
the year of the biopic.
And so it's kind of hard. Like there again, when I was mentioning the whole like complexity thing, maybe canceling out directors with adapted screenplay, do Sniper, Imitation Game, and Theory of Everything, all those kind of cancel each other out because they're all biopics. So it's like, okay, so then you would only have Inherent Vice and Whiplash, in which case I would probably give it to Whiplash. You know, so it's...
I would love to see Whiplash win, even though that's one of the few films I haven't seen yet.
Sure.
Only because I just think it'd be cool to see Whiplash win adapted screenplay because, again, you've got the biopics on the one side. Inherent Vice, it'd be cool to see it win, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and say you've given your pick. I'm going to steal your pick and copy you. I'm going to say American Sniper because I feel I've heard a lot of the same stuff. I'm going to copy that.
So American Sniper, we think is going to win,
I
would love to see Whiplash just as a dark horse to win something cool like that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do actor in a supporting role.
Okay.
Robert Duvall for The Judge, Ethan Hawke for Boyhood, Ed Norton for Birdman, Mark Ruffalo for Foxcatcher, J.K. Simmons for Whiplash.
Okay. I said my one call was that I thought Boyhood was only going to win. It will win something. It'll only win one Oscar. That's something I feel pretty certain about. I just don't know which one.
Yep.
Okay. This is one that I feel good about.
Oh, yeah.
I feel good about this category.
I'm very strong on this one. I am too.
And it's all buzz and it's all like, insider talk. And I haven't even seen the movie. Yeah. But that doesn't matter.
It's Mark Ruffalo.
No. I haven't. You're right. I haven't seen Foxcatcher. No, but I think you and I are lockstep on this one. J.K. Simmons for Whiplash. I think you can go online and like even watch the trailer for this and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think why, now granted, I haven't seen the movie, but to me, it seems like it's almost a best actor performance that he is cramming and shoehorning into a supporting performance because he's the teacher and the student is the real focus here. So he would be the lead actor.
I'm with you.
But it's like, it's almost deserving of a best actor nomination. But the fact that it's such an overpowering performance when you compare it to the other ones, that it's like, oh, no, he's totally. I think that's the no-brainer.
I think I'd be shocked at this point if somebody other than J.K. Simmons won it. Ed Norton I thought was great in Birdman, but I just don't think it's going to win.
I think Ed Norton, and his is a true supporting performance.
Yes.
And it is a good supporting performance. And if Simmons, which we said we haven't seen it, but if it wasn't getting so much buzz and doesn't seem so powerful, then I think it would go to Norton. But I don't think he...
And then Ethan Hawke, hey, I liked him in Boyhood. I thought he was good, but it just wasn't enough for me to say it was the best acting job a guy did this year.
Right,
right. So J.K. Simmons, I want to win because I like him as an actor, and I think I'd love to see him get the recognition, and I do think he will win from everything we're hearing.
Yeah.
All right, why don't you hit us on actress in a supporting role then?
Okay. So, for that, we have Patricia Arquette in Boyhood, Laura Dern in Wild, Keira Knightley in The Imitation Game, Emma Stone in Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, and we have Meryl Streep in Into the Woods. So, with this one, supporting's kind of hard to call too. This one's hard for me to call. I think I might be leaning towards, which I don't know. I liked her in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but...
oh my gosh, you're going to pick Keira Knightley?
I think I might.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive, Chris.
And now a lot of this comes from, which I've heard her performance is really good, I have not seen Wild.
Yeah, Wild's the one I haven't seen as well.
That is a wild card. See what I did there? Because I think if her performance is really strong, but me not knowing because I haven't seen it and I haven't heard buzz, so... yeah, I think, and there's always the Meryl Streep card, but I mean, come on, she's nominated. She'll sit out there and people will make jokes about her like not winning.
There's no way
so
she can't.
I don't think Into the Woods. Now, granted, I saw the film, wasn't really high on Into the Woods, but she played a really cool part. She
could be one of those that they announce it and you're kind of shocked, but you're like, well, what did you expect? It was Meryl Streep. I really liked Emma Stone's performance in Birdman, but I think Patricia Arquette for Boyhood's going to win this.
Really?
Yes, I do.
So this would be the one statue that would walk away.
One of maybe two.
So you're gunning for two statues.
I think Boyhood will walk away with two.
Boyhood is, for me, is what's screwing up a lot of the Oscars this year.
Yeah.
Because it's just so random. It's such an indie movie, but it's such a interesting movie. And it's so like...
I'll tell you the thing with Boyhood. Well, let's save that for the Best Picture discussion because I think I've got
it's really messing.
I've got a theory
up.
on it. I've got a theory on it when we get to the Best Picture.
I will say that it was, for me, it was between Keira Knightley, Emma Stone, and Boyhood, because obviously the other two didn't really matter. And I thought the strength of the movie was what was going to give it to Boyhood. Keira Knightley, Emma Stone, it was a stopwatch test. It was who had the more screen time. And I felt like Keira Knightley had more screen time.
Well, she did.
Therefore, I felt like she... But, screen time obviously doesn't do anything because Judi Dench won that one time for Elizabeth and she was in there for like 2 seconds.
Like one scene or so.
Yeah, or Shakespeare in Love. She won for something. It was like she was barely on screen.
Yeah, that was it.
So it was screen time and I was thinking, well, Keira Knightley... And I think it's some of the best stuff I think she's done. So,
no, I will get. I do think Keira Knightley was the best she's been in The Imitation Game, and I liked her a lot in it.
Okay.
It just, it was a fairly straightforward role. Emma Stone, shorter screen time, more explosive performance.
Yeah.
I definitely think had more showier moments.
I think when we reviewed the Birdman, I think I remember talking about what I thought was going to be this Oscar scene for her, and I would be shocked. And
that's got to be
record,
it.
just so you guys don't have to go back to the episode to listen to it. The one where she has the blow up at her father.
Yeah.
If that's not the scene they
that'll
choose,
totally be
which
the
I don't know
scene.
if they can. I don't know if she has a lot of expletives, which I guess they.
Well, they'll bleep
them
them out, or they normally do
if
that.
If that's not the scene they show, then
Yeah. All right, so that's actress in a supporting role.
Got you.
Let's see here. What do we got? Let's do. We can probably just hit all the sound.
Sure.
Let's do those really quick.
Sure.
I mean, we don't need to spend a lot of time on that.
Okay.
Sound editing. We got American Sniper, Birdman, The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies, and Interstellar, and Unbroken. I believe for this, I had American Sniper. Again, something about the style of the film, the use of sound. I think I could see American Sniper getting both sound editing and sound mixing.
And it seems like a lot of common knowledge used to be that those two would go hand in hand.
Yes.
Whoever won, and it's because maybe people don't understand what the difference between the two is. But I'm going to lean that way as well. Actually, I think.
Now, I would love to see sound editing. I'd love to see Interstellar win it. Although I cannot give sound mixing to Interstellar because I'm still the one saying I had a really hard time understanding what people were saying half the time. So if that's a mixing issue, then I can't give it sound mixing. But I think editing, the weaving in of the music, the weaving in of sound effects, the use of sound, I thought was really impressive. I just think the mixing was really shoddy. So anyway, I could see those kind of going hand in hand. So I think we got American Sniper is what we probably could see winning on a technical side there. Visual effects. Do you have visual effects handy?
Sure. And for once, I've seen all the films in this category. Basically, because the visual effects movies are always usually the bigger budget movies.
Yeah.
So I've seen them all.
Yep,
and
same here.
I think we have reviewed them all as well on the show. So that's kind of cool. So they are Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Guardians of the Galaxy, Interstellar, and X-Men, Days of Future Past. For me, I'm going to say that I think it's going to be Interstellar.
Yeah, that's the one I had as my pick and who I think will win.
Okay.
I thought the visual effects were fine in all those movies, but it was all just your standard action CGI stuff on the other four. And there wasn't anything really dramatic. And I think Interstellar was the only one that was being daring with its visual effects more than the others.
I think, and me using the lumping theory and canceling each other out theory, we've got 3 comic book movies.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say those kind of cancel each other out. Maybe.
Well, really, you got 4 genre movies. I mean, just sci-fi action comic book genre type of movies. And then Interstellar is the only one that stands apart from them.
And Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, it's a genre. It's also a sequel, so there's kind of that whole thing. So maybe, in Interstellar, as we talked about, it was one of my biggest, I think I said it was my biggest disappointment for the year. But there's a lot to admire about it. And I kind of along the Boyhood idea, I don't think they want it to walk away empty-handed. It is Christopher Nolan. So I think it'll get recognized for effects.
The only dark horse I could see is because of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the still amazing animation on the apes themselves
absolutely
could still be something that squeaks out as a
Now, did they win
choice.
last time for it?
I don't remember. I don't know if they did or not.
I think they did. And that was
Okay.
because there was the whole blow up about the performances.
If they did win it for the first one, then I doubt they'll get it for the second one. So, all right. Cinematography.
Okay.
Got Birdman, Grand Budapest Hotel, Ida, Mr. Turner, and Unbroken. And I'll say the only one I haven't seen Mr. Turner.
Oh, you saw Unbroken.
Oh no, I haven't seen Unbroken
Okay.
either.
So it's
That's
like,
two
wait
I
a
haven't seen.
second.
Gosh. Oh, this is a weak
But
category
Unbroken
then.
is a favorite among the Oscars and of the Coen brothers, Roger Deakins. He's like he is a powerhouse. Roger Deakins is. The other powerhouse that I recognize name wise is Emmanuel Lubezki, which is Birdman. So there are two big names there in the film world that are in cinematography. Man, who do I want to win?
Yeah, who do you want to win?
I want either the guys that are nominated, which I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce their names, for Ida.
Yeah.
And that's because it's a small independent film.
And
I
it's
thought
beautiful.
and I thought it really looked great.
Yeah.
Or I want Robert Yeoman for Grand Budapest Hotel to win just because, I really admire all the stuff, lots of stuff going on about that movie. So that's I would want one of those two to win. Robert Yeoman, because I can actually say that, is Grand Budapest Hotel. Who do I think will win? That's tough. Who do you want to win?
I'd say I want Birdman to win.
Okay,
I want Birdman to win just because I still am a fan of the style of the cinematography style for that film. I think Unbroken's going to win though.
What? Because it's Deakins,
Yeah.
you think? Roger Deakins?
And
You know
again,
what?
I think that'll be the one bone they throw to that because it did not rack up many nominations at all for anything.
I got you. I don't know. Gut feeling right now on Friday the 13th. I'm going to say Birdman's going to get it.
Okay.
I think what swings me that way is also because I've Emmanuel Lubezki. I can't rattle off the films he's done offhand, but I know that he's done a lot, and I feel like he's going to get it because of that reason.
Okay.
But
Cool.
yeah, I'm
Let's
gonna go with Birdman.
let's keep on moving. We got a couple other big categories to hit. Really quick. It's probably really quick because I think you and I are probably going to be on the same page with this one. Foreign language film.
Right.
Ida, Leviathan, Tangerines, Timbuktu, and Wild Tales. I've only seen one. I only feel like I need to have seen one because I just think Ida's got all the buzz behind it right now.
Right.
It's a beautiful film. I would love to see that win. I feel pretty locked in that one's going to win.
Yeah, this is my other J.K. Simmons pick.
Yeah.
I feel like
It'll
all
be
the
a
buzz
shock
has been
if
here.
this doesn't happen.
It would be a shock if anything. The only one I've heard a little bit about is
Leviathan from Russia. Yeah.
But I feel like the cinematography will sway people to say that Ida's the better picture. So,
absolutely
I'm with you on
agree.
that.
Let's see. A couple others we can hit really quick.
You may do film editing?
Go for it.
Okay. So we have American Sniper, Boyhood, Grand Budapest Hotel, Imitation Game, and Whiplash.
Yes.
So who do I want to win? I would say that I would want Grand Budapest Hotel, which is Barney Pilling, to win for that. Who do I think will win? That is a harder task to say. Well, I really feel like it's a three-way race between American Sniper, Boyhood, and Whiplash. Man.
I'm saying American Sniper will probably win,
Oh, yeah?
but I would like to see Grand Budapest Hotel win. So I think American Sniper, I think, from what I understand, that the mood the film puts you in between sound and editing has a lot to do with it. And I think those are the kind of ones that they could toss over to that film.
It is so hard for me to say because I haven't actually seen Sniper or seen Whiplash. To be contrarian, this could be the year that I get like 0 right. I'm having that
good.
feeling.
That's all good.
Normally, I used to be pretty good at this. I'm going to give it to Whiplash.
Okay. Good. Let's see. All right. We are
Do
going
hairstyling and makeup.
Yes, and we're going very long. So how about let's hit these really quick.
Sure.
Just let's do makeup, Foxcatcher, Grand Budapest Hotel, and Guardians of the Galaxy. I have written down and saying that I think Grand Budapest Hotel will win and should win.
Okay, I'm with you there because I remember when I saw Tilda Swinton,
Yes.
her alone, I was like, yep.
No, just everybody. Everybody was pitch perfect. They looked great.
But hers was like over the top makeup.
Absolutely.
And stuff.
Hers was, and then I think it was a great catch on that. Costume design, Grand Budapest Hotel, Inherent Vice, Into the Woods, Maleficent, and Mr. Turner.
Okay. Who's your pick on that?
I had, for costume design, I had Grand Budapest Hotel. I can see, honestly, I'll go ahead and just spoil it for you.
Sure.
Production design, makeup, costume design. I've got Grand Budapest Hotel. Because I think from a whole look of the film, all the elements, the props, the costumes, everything, I think Grand Budapest Hotel had it top to bottom.
Well, I'm gonna go into the woods actually on this.
On costume design?
Yeah,
Okay.
Colleen Atwood is another one of those names that I've heard a couple of times,
Yeah.
and so I realized that she is a name. The costumes in that movie were really good.
Well, I'm going to put that down as the one I think is going to win then, but I want Grand Budapest to win.
Understandable.
And then production design, I've got Grand Budapest Hotel as my pick to my what I want to see win. Then we've got The Imitation Game, Interstellar, Into the Woods, and Mr. Turner. What I think will win, I could see Into the Woods winning this as well.
I'm going to give want to win and think will win. I'm going to give it to Grand Budapest actually.
So you're going to have okay. And actually, you know what? I'm
Because I'm flipped, like costumes I think were Into the Woods, but as far as production design, I think that's more Grand Budapest's
okay.
bailiwick there. So
Let's see. I think the only one we have left, or we've got score and song,
Okay.
documentary, and then the lead actors and best picture. Okay. Yeah.
well,
Let's.
Song is another one of those things that it's kind of like, okay, people, this is one that they got right. I really feel so strongly about this. Let me rattle them off. If I need to say it, come on. Everything is Awesome. The Lego Movie, Glory from Selma, Grateful from Beyond the Lights, I'm Not Gonna Miss You from the Glenn Campbell, I'll Be Me, and then Lost Stars from Begin Again, which we actually did review on this show. I think I want to win, clearly, people, and I think will win, if nothing else, or a guilt vote because they didn't give it to a Best Animated Feature. Everything is Awesome by the Lego Movie. I would be really, really, really shocked if that didn't win.
Well, here's where I am. I am going to pick the song from Selma.
What?
Because I'm not
And
the
you have
biggest.
not even seen it.
I'm not the biggest. I've heard the song though. I'm not the.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of the Lego song. I think
Oh, my
it's a fun
gosh.
song, but best song of the year from a film. I don't know.
Absolutely.
But what I think is going to win, I think it's going to be a surprise. I think the Glenn Campbell song will win.
Really?
Yep, that's my prediction.
Huh.
I think that's going to be
See,
the little.
That's one thing that
Yeah.
that's one thing that I can see your reasoning without you
Yeah.
even having to explain everything because it's about like his struggle with Alzheimer's.
Well,
I
it's
believe.
the subject of the documentary,
Right.
singing a song, having gone through Alzheimer's disease, wrestling is country music. It's
Right.
kind of an old legend. I could see that winning.
I honestly, I need to hear the song.
Yeah.
If
I've heard
I
it.
had done my research,
It's a good song.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of strength of the song and what it means to the movie. I could see how it's between those two.
Yeah.
Because Everything is Awesome. There's a through line with that, with the movie. I think it is important to the movie. The movie wouldn't be what it is without that song. Mm-hmm. I could see you making the same argument for I'm Not Gonna Miss You, but I think exposure-wise and guilt because of not giving the animated movie, I think it's Lego Movie. So, but yeah, I like your dark horse.
I will
idea.
be. I want to see Chris's face when the Lego Movie gets completely shut out of the Oscars this year.
Well,
it will
then
not
I'll
be a
start
pretty.
throwing chairs because we'll be having an Oscar party. So I'll start.
I'll
Throwing
make sure
chairs
any
and
heavy
smashing
objects are
things.
not within your reach. All right, original score: The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Interstellar, Mr. Turner, The Theory of Everything. I'll say on score, I think Interstellar may win this just because the score is so unique with organ use and some other interesting choices on instruments. I'm guessing that Interstellar is going to win this. And I'd be happy with Interstellar winning.
Let me briefly. You mentioned the movies. Let me briefly mention three of the names because they're big names.
Okay.
Hans Zimmer for Interstellar, Alexandre Desplat for Imitation Game, and same dude, Alexandre Desplat for Grand Budapest Hotel.
Right.
So actually, it was only two names, but those are big names and like score things. So I think it's going to be one of those three.
Mm-hmm.
Interstellar. I don't know. I'm gonna actually go for Imitation Game.
Okay.
Even though he might cancel like the whole like canceling each other out, those two movies, Budapest and Imitation, might cancel each other out because the same guy did them.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go for Imitation.
See, my
Game.
thing is, I could not tell you anything about the music from The Imitation Game. I just don't remember it, other than it being a typical historical biopic, strings, classical music. Same with Theory of Everything.
So you feel like And Budapest?
Grand Budapest, I love the music for any Wes Anderson film, but it's all the music from a Wes Anderson film.
Right. So you feel
Interstellar was unique.
Interstellar was unique.
It was unique and different and distinctive. I've heard so many people after they see the movie, they're like, "Oh, and the music was really crazy, like really interesting and good."
Huh.
So that's where I think it's going to go.
Okay.
Documentary feature. We have Citizen 4, Finding Vivian Mayer, Last Days in Vietnam, The Salt of the Earth, and Virunga. And I'll go ahead and say I haven't seen any of them.
I've seen Virunga. It was good. I am going to see, hopefully this weekend, I'm going to see Finding Vivian Mayer about photography. It was like unknown photographer. It's supposed to be really good. I think my gut feeling, because it's about the whole WikiLeaks and Assange, Julian Assange, I think Citizen 4, and it's one I've heard the most buzz about. I think it's going to be Citizen 4.
I'm pretty much, that's where I'm thinking it's going to go, just from everything I'm hearing. So.
Slight little soapbox here, people. Life Itself not nominated.
Yeah, that was really disappointing.
Saying it has to win.
But nominations.
Because if you go on importance, which I feel like a lot of times, it's like, this is your important film. Obviously, Citizen 4, okay. About that whole controversy and everything. But I'm surprised it wasn't at least nominated.
Do you think it maybe has something to do with the fact that I think there may have been some perception in the Academy that Life Itself was almost a commissioned biography by Ebert himself? In a way, he kind of handpicked the director.
He was a fan of Steve James. He wanted to have his biography too. So
it was maybe seen as more of a love letter to Roger Ebert as opposed to a true documentary.
So too much of a vanity piece, and that's why.
Now, I love the film,
sure,
but I could see that may be the reason why they don't treat it as the purest documentary in the field.
I think if he hadn't, I think because him struggling with cancer and with his disabilities played so much a part in that, though. I'm surprised it wasn't at least nominated, because, maybe I hadn't thought about that. Maybe the self-commission thing did play a part. Not sure.
It's very possible, I think. Very, very possible. All right, so let's get to the two lead actors and then Best Picture. Okay. So we've got actress in a leading role. You want to read those out for us?
Sure. We have Marion Cotillard in 2 Days, 1 Night, Felicity Jones, Theory of Everything, Julianne Moore, Still Alice, Rosamund Pike in Gone Girl, Reese Witherspoon in Wild. I'm going to say, there again, buzz. I'm going to say that Julianne Moore, Still Alice, haven't seen the movie. I don't think many people have. But the ones that have, that are in the Academy, I think voted for it. It's about Alzheimer's again, a woman that's struggling with early stage Alzheimer's, I believe.
That's correct.
So I think that probably will win because of buzz, just like J.K. Simmons. Now, who do I want to win? I actually want, even though I'm still kind of struggling with the movie, need to see it again, I actually want Rosamund Pike to win for Gone Girl. I think that would be
She had the most interesting performance.
She did, without going into a lot. She had a really interesting performance. And I think I like the fact, too, that, to me at least, she's a newcomer.
Yeah.
So I would really like to see her win because she's a newcomer to me and because she had such an interesting non-Oscar performance type thing. It was a good thing, but it's just like not your typical movie. So, that's who I'd want to win. But I think Julianne Moore.
I think it's going to be Julianne Moore as well. I'm perfectly happy for it to be Julianne Moore.
Are you basing that on buzz?
Basing it on buzz and also just body of work for me. I really like Julianne Moore as an actress, and I think she needs more credit sometimes for some of the work she does. So this film may be kind of her big signature piece on that. So I'm perfectly happy with that. I would be happy with Rosamund Pike winning just because of the interesting performance she gave. I like Felicity Jones, although I don't think she's strong enough to win in this field, but I do think it was a really good performance as well.
I mean, I guess that could be the one bone they throw Theory of Everything is they give it Best Actress, but kind of...
I don't know. It may be a weak one to give them, though. So,
gotcha.
Best Actor in a leading role. We have Steve Carell from Foxcatcher, Bradley Cooper, American Sniper, Benedict Cumberbatch, The Imitation Game, Michael Keaton, Birdman, and Eddie Redmayne for The Theory of Everything. I'm saying that
These are so tough this year.
They're really.
We probably say that
I would like to see Michael Keaton win. And I think there's a pretty good chance he will.
That's okay. I have Michael Keaton winning. And I think my feelings for wanting him to win, because I like him as an actor, I like his work. I like the meta commentary of him, commenting on Batman, which I loved him when he was Batman because I was growing up at that time. And I'm going to say that I also think it's a lot of biopics canceling each other out because everybody else in this category is biopic. So I think they're all just going to be like, let's just cancel all those out.
I'm going to go ahead and say, though, I think it's really a 3-person race. I think there's 2 you can write off. I think Steve Carell, gone. Benedict Cumberbatch, gone. Okay. There's a chance Eddie Redmayne could win.
Just because the physicality and they reward those type things.
And then I think Bradley Cooper, I think it could be a surprise. Okay. I'm thinking it's Keaton or Redmayne, and I'm going to say Keaton.
I just recently found out that Bradley Cooper and I share the same birthday.
Oh, well, that helps right away.
So, for that reason, I guess I should say I want him to win.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Let's go January 5th.
But I think I hope, and I think it will be Keaton that wins this.
Cool.
So, Best Picture.
Best Picture.
I'm going to go ahead and say I think Boyhood is going to win Best Picture.
Okay.
Do I think it should? No. Let me be very clear about this.
I'm so conflicted. That's why I don't want to give it Best Picture. I don't think
Best Picture to me is the all-encompassing category. It takes into effect everything that's around the production of the film. And even the producer of the film is the one that actually technically is given the award. Okay? Mm-hmm. To me, this is a film that the concept is what sells it. Huh. It's not the acting. It's not the story. It's not the screenplay. It's not even the directing. It's the concept of pulling this together.
Because that's where the producer award is Best Picture.
I think, a producer has to be the one that makes sure you've got the actors lined up to use every single time you get to filming and to make sure the concept still works and the time frame works and all. Now, granted, Linklater is the driving force of the film. I get that. He is the guy making it happen, but he's making it happen from a producer role, not a director role. So I'm saying I think Boyhood will be it's going to be one of those where every other category will go somewhere else. But then Boyhood will win Best Picture, just as kind of a complete body of work that the Academy wants to recognize. I don't think it'll win any other major award. I've got it down where I think Patricia Arquette will win Best Supporting Actress, and maybe that will be the other one that Boyhood wins. But I could very easily see it being where nothing else goes to Boyhood except Best Picture.
Did we run down the nominees?
Oh, no, we didn't.
Okay, let me do that real quick.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
American Sniper, Birdman, Boyhood, Budapest Hotel, Imitation Game, Selma, Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. You can teach an old dog new tricks. I'm not that old, but still, Alan just taught me and made me realize that Best Picture was a producer award. And for the reasons he gave me when I was trying to give Linklater that for directing, I am now switching because there are no rules on this podcast. I am going to go with Boyhood for Best Motion Picture, and I'm switching and giving. Unfortunately, I do not want to, but I'm going to give an R to Best Directing.
Okay,
because I agree for the reasons you said, and I have learned something today, people.
Oh, good.
About the Best.
It's a learning
Motion
moment.
Picture. It is. It's a learning. It's a teachable moment. And I feel for that reason, everything that I was giving it to the director, now for all those reasons, just cut and paste. I'm giving that for the picture because. Is it good acting? The ideas, for the screenplay, no. But putting it all together, total package. I agree with that.
Now, who do you want to win Best Picture?
Who do I want to win Best Picture? Well, we know it's not Birdman.
It is for me. So I'm saying I want Birdman to win Best Picture, but that's me.
I can't believe I'm saying this because at the time I wasn't big on it, but it's kind of grown on me. I want Grand Budapest to win.
Okay, Grand Budapest is my backup.
Okay.
All right. If Birdman, all of a sudden, if the Oscar ceremony starts going downhill and Birdman's not getting any of the awards, I'm picking it for her.
I want NR to wear Duke Blue Devils jersy to the Oscars instead of a tuxedo, so that way your love for him will diminish.
That would do it, actually. So. And it's not a love for him; it's a love for this film.
Sure,
I'm not a big fan of his other films, but I do love this film. If I get sense halfway through the ceremony that Birdman is getting shut out of stuff, then my vote will immediately switch to please, Grand Budapest Hotel.
Please. Yeah.
Grand Budapest Hotel will not win Best Picture. I'm going to go ahead and go on record. I would love for it to. Yeah. I will stand up and cheer and shout at our Oscar party if it does.
Because it's not a biopic.
Yeah, but it won't.
Right.
Birdman is the one I think I want to win, although I think it's going to be Boyhood. I think I can already picture the closing award being given out. You got the whole cast of Boyhood. You got the kid who's now probably 84 years old up there on stage. That's going to be the big Oscar moment of, oh, look, the Boyhood group is up there. They didn't win anything else, but they got Best Picture.
Won Best Picture.
Yeah, that's it. I think Birdman will walk away with the technically proficient ones like director. And I think, what else did I say?
Did you say editing for Birdman or no?
I think screenplay, I think directing and all, just kind of the craft of the film itself. To me, Grand Budapest, I would love to see take away of the makeup, the production design, all the big stuff that makes the film look so good.
Right.
And I think American Sniper will creep away with a few awards, not any big ones, but just enough to say that it's an Academy Award-winning film. That's kind of my overall picture. We're not going to hit some of those categories that we don't know anything about, like short films and animated. I haven't seen any of them. I couldn't tell you.
The only two that I've seen were Feast, which actually was played before Big Hero 6. About the little dog. So you've actually seen it.
Yeah, that was good.
And then Me and My Molten, I've seen that, and it's kind of cute. But I have no idea about the other
good.
one,
I filled out my ballot. I actually gave Feast the animated short film. I'd forgotten I saw that one.
Well,
so
there you go.
It was good. Not bad. Okay, so that's our Oscars. We went really long on that, so thanks for your patience, everybody. But we kind of wanted to digest it. We had to cram it all into one episode because normally we used to analyze the Oscars on one episode and then we'd come up with our picks later. We're kind of doing it all at one time here. So
sure,
it'll be a very interesting ceremony. I'm going to give it that. It's probably one of the more intriguing ones we've had in a while.
Neil Patrick Harris.
Is he the host?
He is the host.
Okay, that could be good.
But yeah, I like him. I find him genuinely funny. Only good thing about Once Upon a Time in the West. So
yeah, well, that's true. Actually, it's kind of interesting though that back-to-back years it was like the two people from that
was
same
Seth
film,
MacFarlane
right?
just back? No,
was he last year?
He was 2 years ago.
Who was last year?
Ellen DeGeneres, right?
Did she do it last year?
I think so.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Okay, and she wasn't in A Million Ways to Die in the West. Because that would have been really wild, 3 in a row.
That would have.
No, okay.
No, she wasn't.
Well, Chris, all right, let's stop talking about Oscar.
Okay.
We're not going to say Oscar anymore until after the ceremony, and then we'll recap the winners during our news segment in a future episode.
Sounds fair.
Let's quickly give us our recommendations of films that you should check out that we have seen recently. Mine is going to shock.
Oh, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
So
I cannot wait to see what this is. It's supposed to.
It is not one I would
shock and awe.
It is not one I would have picked for myself either. So we're at the public library the other day, my kids and I, just hanging out, checking out some stuff, and I go to the DVD section.
Is this Garfield Tale of Two Kitties? No.
I'm flipping through the racks, and my 13-year-old says, "Ooh, RoboCop." And I'm like, "Oh, that's like the new one. That's like the remake one." I'm like, "No, we're not going to watch that." And he's like, "Oh, come on, Dad." I'm like, "Okay, we'll find whatever." I love the original one, the Paul Verhoeven one. It was a cool movie.
Yeah.
It had a lot of social commentary to it. That's the part I liked on it. It was good. It was very violent, but I'm like, it was all right. So he said, fine, I'll rent it. And he said, can we watch it tonight? I'm like, sure, whatever. I have my laptop out. I'm actually doing work while it's on. I'm like, I'm not really going to pay attention to it.
This is the new version.
The new version.
Yeah, the new version.
Going in with super low expectations, it's not a bad movie. Now, here's the deal. It's one of those films where if the original RoboCop did not exist, this would be a pretty good movie.
Got you.
Because the original exists, you're always comparing it and contrasting it.
You can't help it. Sure.
I do like this film has some elements of it I like better than the original because we actually spend a lot more time with the human character that becomes RoboCop as opposed to, I think in the original was pretty much he got shot up and then he got turned into RoboCop and that was pretty much, I mean, he's RoboCop the rest of the movie. He is a robot.
Right.
That you see glimmers of life.
Right.
In this version, he's a human that throughout the entire film that they're able to control, turn kind of on and off his inhibitions, or turn on and off his emotions. It was a little more of it actually had a little more commentary to it, I thought, in a way, than maybe the original one did.
Michael Keaton's in this, too.
Michael Keaton is in it as the bad guy, the owner, the big guy who runs the company that creates it. Yeah, it's a decent, fun little movie. I would just say I was pleasantly surprised that it was better than I expected it to be.
Okay.
I don't know anything about the people involved with it. Jose Padilla is the director. Don't know anything about him. Joe Kinnaman played Alex Murphy. Didn't know anything about him. Gary Oldman is in there as the doctor. Okay. He's actually really good. He puts in a good, solid performance. Michael Keaton's good in the film. Abby Cornish as the wife of Alex Murphy, I thought was a really strong performance. You got Jackie Earl Haley in it.
Okay. Does he play a bad guy?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
So overall, I thought it was a good film. If you're in the mood for just a good action movie, it's a PG-13 action movie, which means everything's toned down on the violence.
Yeah, because the original was R.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, it was a hard R. It was very violent. And that's actually the one thing that I always was a little squeamish with the first RoboCop is it was pretty gross in places and violent. This one, there's a lot of gunplay, very little blood or anything. So I actually was okay with even my 8-year-old watching some of it because, it was just all firing bullets and you never really saw anything happen from it. So I thought it was a good, fun movie. I think it would have been higher regarded if the original didn't exist.
Got you.
Kind of like how I felt about the Amazing Spider-Man reboots. I think those movies would have been better respected if the originals weren't there and haven't been like in the last 10, 15 years. So
Sure.
It's one of those things where that's the danger when you do a reboot or a remake is there's always the comparison of the original. It's hard to treat it as a standalone product.
Sure.
This one I thought had some good elements to it. So yeah, RoboCop.
Okay.
Why not?
So you snuck that in on me because I don't believe you've logged it in Letterboxd. So
I think I just did recently.
Okay.
I forgot about it and I put it on there.
Okay, because I hadn't seen you watch that. So that did take me by surprise. That is
checking
shocking.
it out from the public library, didn't pay a dime for it.
Hey,
so
free is free.
that may have helped my impression a little bit too. So what do you got
Fair
for
enough.
us?
I've got The Giant Mechanical Man, and this came out in 2012. It stars Jenna Fisher from Office fame and Chris Messina and Topher Grace. I'm recommending it. I just recently saw it. It is a perfect, although I realize Valentine's Day is tomorrow. This podcast will not probably come out until next week. But still, if you need a date night movie that's kind of a fun little romantic comedy, Giant Mechanical Man is for you.
Wow. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's small, little indie film. And it's not like it's anything unique. I mean, it's, boy meets girl, they like each other. So it's kind of predictable, but still, it's just kind of quirky enough and honest enough about how people relate to one another that I thought it was enjoyable. Topher Grace, never really watched the '70s show, but know who he is from that. I guess it's a little bit more than a cameo in this, but still, his part in this movie is hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, he plays.
I never would have put those words together with Topher Grace and hilarious.
I know, right? But he plays like Doug Duncan, who's like this supposed to be empowering writer for like self-esteem type guy, and his best affectation is the fact that he has this like long mop of hair.
Yeah. Well, it's
awesome.
This is on Amazon Prime Instant Video, just in case anybody has that Amazon service, because I do, and that's cool. It means I can watch it for free.
And it's also on Netflix.
Oh, it's on Netflix too. Oh, good.
Yeah.
So a lot of ways to see it like right away, easily. The Giant Mechanical Man. Yeah, I've never heard of it. That's on my list now. Interesting. Okay. So that is our show for today. We had our review of The Theory of Everything, which Chris gave up average, maybe okay, passable grade on.
Okay, passable.
Yeah, I was disappointed and not as enamored by it. We had our Oscar ballots going through. We got a nice mixture. It's going to be an interesting ceremony for sure. And then our recommendations, two completely opposite films, it sounds like. The Giant Mechanical Man and RoboCop. Actually, The Giant Mechanical Man and RoboCop.
There you go.
There's actually more similarities than I would have thought.
Robots, mechanical. There, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Man, we did not plan that at all.
No, we didn't.
So what we'll do next time we get together, we'll have movie reviews, and by that point, of course, we'll know what the Oscar outcomes were. So I'm sure we'll have a little bit to chew on with that as well.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions, thoughts, or just want to get a hold of us, Chris, what are the various ways people could reach us right now?
Well, we are, of course, on the Mesh, so you could go to the website, mesh.tv.
Themesh.tv.
Themesh.tv, and look us up on our page there. You can find past episodes there as well. We are also on Letterboxd, which I'd mentioned. Al and I both have accounts on that. If you'd like to send us an email or an idea for a show, or you disagree with one of our reviews, you could also send an email to info@themesh.tv and just jot your thoughts down there. That may have covered it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Just to let everybody know, too, if they want to check out some things going on in our area and maybe even come visit us this fall, we'd love to have you. September 25th through the 27th, we are going to have our very first ever Footcandle Film Festival. Right here in Western North Carolina, Catawba County, Hickory to be more specific. We're going to be doing that for a weekend-long film festival. Film submissions are open right now. So if you are a filmmaker, know someone who's a filmmaker, or just want to help share the news, film submissions are open until June 1st of this year. So as we record this, there's still 3 to 4 months of time to submit films. Right now, it's an open submission process. You can submit a film, whether it's a short film, documentary, feature length, doesn't matter. Everything will be reviewed by a screening committee, and the best films to show in a full weekend will be selected and brought in. And then we'll have awards for the winners of that weekend's festival. We'll be holding this at the Salt Block, which is the Science Arts literature, and something else. T. I don't know what T stands for.
I don't either.
Oh my gosh, what does T stand for at the SALT block? Okay, I don't remember, but I'll find out. We'll follow up on that. The SALT block in near downtown Hickory. We'll be using the auditorium there for the weekend. Have a lot of other events planned around the weekend as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tickets for it won't go on sale till probably like July, close to late June, July. But right now, film submissions, if you want to submit a film or know somebody who's worked on a film in the last year or two, please point them to footcandle.org. There's a button on the website that sends you right to our film festival page with instructions on how to submit the film. Cool?
Yep.
Good. So let's get it out there, help spread the word. We'd love to have you come join us in Catawba County this fall. It'll be a beautiful time of the year. It's going to be a fun weekend. All right. With all that, we're going to wrap up. Chris, thanks, man.
Yeah,
good seeing you as always.
Pleasure.
Have a good weekend to everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
See you in the ticket line.
Watch news through the courtesy of Footcandle Film Society.
Special thanks to Carpal Tuller for the show theme music. For more about Carpal Tuller, visit www.carpaltuller.com. You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.